All righty. Lovie Smith fired as head coach of the Houston Texans. What a day this has been. Never a dull moment with the Houston Texans. Lovie Smith is out. It is the Locker Room on YouTube. Only daily Texans streaming content you can find on the net. I'm Landry Locker. You can listen to me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Put the comments in. Please subscribe. God, I got to be honest with you. I said today, we recorded at KPRC2, TV station, Channel 2. You'll see me on TV probably if you still have Sunday Night Football on. You'll probably see me on TV as I'm streaming this in a few minutes. But I said I think that this happens tonight. And I had it on pretty good authority that was going to be what happened. If you go back and look at my last stream, I said Lovie Smith is gone. Pretty good authority. And that's what happened. And it's the right thing to happen regardless of what would have happened in this game. And I think the fact that the result was such and Lovie Smith was clearly trying to win and not, along for the cause, I think that shows you that we pretty much knew Lovie Smith was going to be gone after 1 year. It was the right decision. And it brings at least some sense of normal to a very unnormal day for Texans fans in which they squandered away a hell of an opportunity with that number 1 pick. But the one thing that I do, and I just got the alert for the Texans media availability. Forgive me for a second. Nick Caserio is safe. So anyone thinking Nick Caserio is going to be fired, I just got, I'll show you actually the email. Y'all probably don't see these things very often. So here's the email right there. So so that's the media schedule. 5:30, you have Cal McNair and Nick Caserio media availability tomorrow at 5:30. So they'll speak tomorrow, and they are actually listed. So anyone, thinking that maybe Nick Caserio is gone, he's not. Him and Cal will speak tomorrow at 5:30. You'll hear that on Sports Radio 610. We'll probably react to that on here as well. So Nick Caserio is safe. He's going to speak tomorrow. Cal McNair is going to speak tomorrow. It's going to be the second year in as many years that, they've had to speak after firing a head coach. This is going to be a year, though, where the job is a lot more appealing. The process is going to have to be smoother. That's the one thing I do got to credit them for. And look, some people will say, if you're new to the channel or if you watch another team, well, that's normal. They fired their coach in a timely manner. It's not around here. So they, unlike last year where they were the last team to fire a head coach, where they sent David Culley to the podium and David Culley had to go up there and basically be like, yeah, as far as I know, I'm head coach of the Houston Texans. That's not going to happen. It's going to be Nick Caserio and it's going to be Cal McNair going up there and speaking and talking about the process. And the process begins next week and things get really interesting. As far as the Lovie Smith era goes, I'll say this. I think that for this year, I don't have a problem with Lovie Smith being the head coach of the Houston Texans. And I'll read your comments if you get them up. I don't have an issue with it. For where they were, no viable, good candidate wanted this gig. You still had the Deshaun Watson cloud. You still had the limited assets. The roster wasn't very good. Didn't know where everything was going to go. Hell, at this time last year, I think some people didn't even know if you could trade Deshaun Watson. I mean, if he was even tradable. There were some people saying, well, do you release him? Which they didn't. And that's the one good thing that I can say that Nick Caserio did. But, there were people saying that. But for this year, I was fine with Lovie Smith. And some people will say, well, him and David Culley never had a chance in hell to succeed. Maybe. But they kind of did. And if you watch the Houston Texans this year, you realize very quickly that Lovie Smith is still stuck in the Stone Age when it comes to coaching defense. And if you follow Lovie Smith's entire coaching tenure, there's a lot more losing than winning. Outside of the 3 years Ron Rivera called his defense, and the 3 years after doing it his way, he had to hire Rod Marinelli the final 3 years in Chicago and kind of bail his ass out there. It's been rough for him. And I do count the college, the Illinois thing. If you don't, even then, there's been a lot of losing. And nobody else was going to hire Lovie Smith or David Culley to be their head coach. So as far as, well, you didn't give them a chance to succeed, okay? You gave them an opportunity no one else was going to give them. Matter of fact, you're the only team that interviewed either one of those guys. Look, when the Texans need to be criticized, I'll be the first to criticize the Texans. But the low-hanging fruit is it's not something that I think can be grasped at this point. Because I don't think Lovie Smith was set up to fail. I think if Lovie Smith would have coached well and Lovie Smith would have won 6 or 7 games, I think we're talking about Lovie Smith coming back year 2. And if Cal McNair hadn't been such a disaster early on as an owner, and I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. Any other way to describe, I would think Cal can look in the mirror and say, man, the beginning of my ownership tenure kind of sucked. It wasn't very good. If that hadn't happened, you never would have been in a position to hire Lovie Smith or David Culley. I mean, think about it this way. You ever been invited to something that you probably, in normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been invited to, but nobody else wanted to go? Like, you know that kind of like you have a weasel friend and he has really, nice tickets to a game or something like that. He's asked multiple chicks to go with him. None of them want to be around him. None of your buddies even want to go hang out with him. But you say, all right, I'll go. I don't know why I'm going to this event. I wouldn't be able to afford these tickets. I wouldn't be able to go to something like this. But nobody wanted to go with them. So I'm happily going to go. F it. That's what the Texans' job was. And you should be thankful for Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith did a good job of bringing stability. But part of the reason why you got to a point where you had to hire Lovie Smith or David Culley is because of the sins of the past and because all of the other stuff that you had going on. And you don't have it anymore. So Lovie Smith, he'll be fine. And I think for the most part, we know what kind of coach Lovie Smith is. And I actually thought it was pretty funny. Like, you look at most of the comments, there's always going to be the troll. There's always going to be, a few people who look at stuff a certain way. But for the most part, Lovie Smith has coached 3 of the 32 teams in the NFL. And all 3 of those fan bases think he's a terrible NFL coach, even in Chicago, which is surprising. You talk to people who covered that team. He ran off Ron Rivera after he won a Super Bowl and plummeted afterwards. Tampa Bay, he was a disaster. And I thought this was funny. I actually want to pull this up. And this was like the parting gift from Lovie Smith. I always, by the way, one of my favorite things, I'm not trying to rant, although you know me. I always get a kick out of someone that like in the mentions because I'm pulling up something on Twitter, but I always get a kick out of someone on the mentions. It's not like a big deal, but I just always find it kind of funny when someone says, "Hey, what's your gut feeling on this? Who do you think they should draft at number 1?" Dude, I talk 6 hours a day and say these things. It's like, I know you're following me, sir. Could you like click on a link or something like that? What do you think about them firing Lovie Smith? Here's the link, my friend. Here is the link. All right, I'm going to show you this because I thought one of the most entertaining things about Lovie is just how smug and arrogant Lovie Smith can be and how much he makes himself just look like a fool at times. This is Lovie Smith and here, give me a second here. I'll scroll up. But Johnny put it on there. So this was Lovie Smith talking to DJ Bieneme, who, by the way, what's going on with old DJ on Twitter? He had to delete his Super Bowl tweet, and now he's putting out stuff about, the Texans got to answer to firing 2 African-American coaches and stuff. Is he trying to make up for the clicks that he lost on having to delete that Super Bowl tweet for whatever reason? What's going on with my man DJ? I'm gonna have to talk to him. Want to hit up that Bum B South concert with him anyways. But here was Lovie Smith's answer to DJ Bieneme about trying to lose or perhaps getting the number 1 pick.
All right, this is the option that I had. So you're saying, hey guys, playing this last game, all that you've been working for all your life, you play to win, forget that, lose the game on purpose. I think that would be a hard one to get by. They wouldn't expect me to say that. I didn't. What we work each week, our game plan has been to win the game. It's kind of simple as that. And that's what we followed through on. All right, this is the option that I had. So
okay, so it's as simple as that, but except that it's not, Lovie. Like, and this is why Lovie is just kind of like, people kind of just realize, man, this guy might just be a little bit over his head. So Lovie just, he's asked very, very appropriately by DJ. So, and I'll get to the comments in a second, I promise. Lovie Smith has been fired. What about the battle over number 1 pick? How do you handle those types of things? And Lovie says, well, what am I supposed to do? It's as simple as this. Like, you can't ask guys to lose and stuff like that. Like, that's not how it works. And, is that something that you can do? The answer is no. And like he does with his smug thing, but he talks out of both ends a lot. Today he said you play to win every game. He played to tie in week 1. There were the quarterback situation where, he brought up the competitive advantage. He brought up an announcement was coming. It's just a multiple time thing. But my point is this. You saw what the Chicago Bears did with Justin Fields. You saw the Chicago Bears bench their players. Brandon Cooks should have never been active today. Nick Caserio made the mistake there. But listen to Sean Payton. This is Lovie Smith's friend. Like, it's one thing to listen to my dumbass sit here and talk about Lovie the whole time, but you just saw how smug he was with DJ Bieneme. Now listen to, Sean Payton talking about how do you handle not going from having the number 1 pick to having the number 2 pick. Here is Sean Payton talking about it.
We've had 2 teams that I know lost games.
One of them was to get Jameis Winston.
Tampa Bay, Lovie Smith, great coach, a good friend. And we're losing to the Buccaneers last game of the season. All their starters were pulled. Like, all the linebackers were pulled. And I'm on the headset in the third quarter asking our staff, like, what do you mean Levante David's out? Coach, he's out, such and such. And right away, they were at the 1 spot. Had they won that game, they risked going to the 2 spot. And they wanted to select Jameis Winston. So that actually happened. We've had 2 teams that I know.
Okay, so it actually happened. So there you go. So Lovie Smith, like, you've done it, dude. And I don't expect Lovie Smith to do it. because you can't ask a coach who's going to be gone to do it. But like, you know how it works, sir. You did it. You blatantly did it. You were beating the New Orleans Saints and then you benched your players. But you go up there all smug and stuff. I mean, come on. Come on, coach. Give me a break. Let's go through the comments a little bit. Appreciate everyone for coming through. It's been a wild, wild night. I was actually took a nap during that Green Bay Detroit game. I was bored by it. So when I took the nap, I got the alert. Texans media availability. I just showed y'all the email. It said Cal McNair, Nick Caserio. I said, oh, he must have gotten fired. I went to the mentions. Brown Chubby Bear, everybody was saying, hey, you need to go live. So I gathered myself. I went live. Pleasant surprise with Lovie being gone. Dominic in Jersey, what up, man? Landry, it's midnight here on the East Coast. Let's celebrate. You got to celebrate normal. You got to take every victory you can if you're a Texans fan. So go ahead and celebrate it. Pep is next. That's a given. Pep's gone. I would be surprised if Frank Ross, if they let him go. I think Frank Ross probably stays. But yes, Pep is 100% gone. Cebu says he's still venting about the win today. To be honest, it's good it happened now. I agree, man. The win was just hilarious. Brandon Cook should have never been on the field. He should have been inactive. That's the one issue I had. He really should have been traded, but Brandon Cook should have been inactive. Period. Hasn't even been 12 hours. Has not. There's still a lot of trouble with the win. Judging by the statement released, I think Caserio is safe. That is correct. I showed you the media availability. Caserio is safe. Rudy says fire everyone. Not going to happen because Caserio is here. Max says I hop from. Not sure what that means. Give me D'Amico, Marcus says. As far as D'Amico Ryans goes, I don't believe that he's not interested in the Texans gig. Maybe that eventually comes to fruition, but I think that was I just don't believe that. I just don't. I know some people that know D'Amico. They haven't said as much. I'm sure there are probably some agents maybe that represent other coaches, other coaching candidates that probably want that out there. But I don't think that you can 100% equivocally say D'Amico is out. I don't believe that at all. I like Aaron, but I don't buy that. Nick has one more year to right the ship. Maybe. I think he might have a little bit more time than that. Look, after the game, I was pissed. And I said I would be fine with Nick Caserio being fired. I would. Like, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Would you? Like, I don't trust Nick Caserio at this point. I don't trust anybody. Although I'm happy with what they did today. This was a good step in the right direction of gaining some sort of trust because you always anticipate the worst. Hell, that game, as fluky as that game was, how many of you even sarcastically went through that scenario? The second they didn't trade Brandon Cooks, I said Brandon Cooks was going to – I said it multiple times on the show. Those of you that listen to the show, I said multiple times, Brandon Cooks is going to haunt them. They didn't trade him. For whatever reason, he's allowed to do whatever the hell he wants, treat them however he wants. He's allowed to come up there and play. And he just cost you that. I saw that one coming. I mean, as soon as Indianapolis got the ball, I don't know about y'all's mentions. It's different mentions for different people. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you probably said, damn, they're going to score and go for two, aren't they? My dad did. Shout out to my pops. A lot of my friends did. I saw it on the timeline. So you go through all of the worst case scenarios. So even if you think Lovie's gone, never say never around here. We still getting no milk. I don't know what that means, DL, but okay. Stephen Harris, D'Amico Ryans, next Texans coach. There's a hell of a lot of that. Brandon says, glad they took care of this now. Now they can start their coach search ASAP. Preach, man. Very smooth, perfect timing, right at night, perfect timing. right before Black Monday, as Dark Side says. Aaron Wilson reports no interest in coming. Okay. We'll see how that goes. Again, I like Aaron, friend, but okay, we'll see. A lot of times what reporters tell you is what certain agents are telling them. Sometimes it's direct. Sometimes they might know another candidate's agent more than that actual person they're talking about. So I'll be careful of that. The Texans had an 82% of getting the first pick after week 10. Yeah, they kind of blew that, didn't they? Tristan, there is mutual interest between Jonathan Gannon and the Texans. Thanks for the news. Heard that a couple of times. RG3 already sent a tweet about the narrative that the team wrongly fired 2 black coaches in 2 years. He doesn't even know what's going on here. RG3 wants clicks, man. And I like Robert, but of course he did. B. Sully, the funny thing to me, if Lovie had coached that aggressively all season long, he probably would have saved his job and won 5 or 6 more games. Makes it even more frustrating today. I agree with you. He called the linebacker blitz. They blitzed the least in the league. Called the linebacker blitz with Christian Harris. If you go back and watch the game, when they were at the 20, you could see him saying, "We're going to go for 2." Hell, they've had to call timeout before 4th and 1s. Before it's a lot easier to coach that way when the other team sucks and you don't have anything to lose. But yeah, I agree. I thought he was a little bit more aggressive today, which kind of seems a little bit ass backwards, right? Tristan's just breaking it all down. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about that. And that's just something the Texans are going to have to deal with. So I mean, hell, I saw Jim Trotter say a year or two ago that Pep Hamilton needed to be a head coach in the NFL. Just go to Jim Trotter's Twitter and you'll see Pep Hamilton. He said it about Mel Tucker. So it's going to happen. And look, sometimes it's an unfortunate situation. It's good to have an eye on those types of things, but neither one of those guys was getting a job anywhere else. So that is what that is. Jefferson, Texans fans have had a bad taste in their mouth so many times. Today was worse, though. They pushed Lovie so hard at the beginning of the year. End of the year, he leaves flipping the bird. Him and Brandon Cooks are probably laughing together. I guarantee you that Brandon Cooks and Jack Easterby tweeted today. I would be willing to bet a lot of money. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that those guys are just flat out laughing right now. Just flat out laughing at the moment. Who do I want? I want someone that someone else wants. I don't have a specific name. I want someone that another team is going to hire. That's what I would like. A coach that someone else hires, not someone that only you interview. Keep Josh McCown away. I don't think we have to worry about that. And Nick, we don't trust. Yeah, there are definitely trust issues with Nick Caserio and Cal McNair. We talked about that. Bring in Jim Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh ends up with the Colts if I had to bet, but I'm not positive about that. But that would be my bet. Cal McNair need to start making his own decisions, not Nick Caserio, because he is a weak GM. Okay. Yeah, I do think Cal needs to step in. How could you watch the Lions tonight and not be impressed with Ben Johnson? He's the guy. I'm hearing a lot on Ben Johnson. I like Ben Johnson. I'm intrigued by it. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Johnson got an interview. He's got a very good resume, did a very good job with Goff. So I would keep an eye on that. Dominic says, I've read a couple articles saying Gannon would bring a very impressive staff with him, though. He would. I think if Jonathan Gannon got hired, I would look out for Frank Reich to be on his staff. How ironic would that be? Frank Reich comes to Houston. But I do think that's there's a decent chance of that happening. a Frank Reich or something like that. Matt's bringing up Sean Payton. Sean Payton's not coming here. I talked to one of Sean Payton's pretty good friends today, actually. And, he was talking about how Sean Payton, the quote that he said was, Sean Payton wants to control the color of the rally towels on the seats. I don't think Caserio would want to deal with that. And I don't think Sean Payton would want to come here. He's going to have a lot of options. Lovie said he expected to be back. Yeah, that's not uncommon, for sure. The plan was for Culley to be a 2-year puppet, but he couldn't handle the job. This is correct. We'll get back to the comments. Let's check out the Tony Dungy tweets. Tony tweeted this. Let's get the share screen up. So Tony Dungy said, what are the Texans doing? What kind of operation is this where you don't have any convictions about supporting the coaches you hire? Who is going to want to coach there if you might only get 1 year to implement your plans? 2 years in a row is ridiculous. Look, this year compared to the last two, like if you can't see the difference in what, if people, I'm actually going to type this. I'm going to tweet this as we're saying this. If people can't tell how much of a difference this year's situation is, then I don't know what to say. Then I don't know what to tell you, because you don't have the Deshaun Watson cloud. You don't have the Jack Easterby. You got your draft equity, and we'll see what happens. Ryan Clark says it'll be interesting to see who the Texans hire as their real coach. I agree. It most certainly will. And it is kind of San Francisco-like, except it's going to be the same GM doing it, which again, it's not, you can't compare it to any other situation. But Tony's being selectively dense on that. But I mean, he's always going to look out for coaches. And I completely understand that. Stephen Harris says Lovie Smith go back to Chicago and coach college university students. Don't know if that is going to happen. Houston Texans talk says I ain't got friends like that. You talking about going to events? I tried to make an analogy. That analogy might have sucked. If we're being honest. Tristan says, damn, you're saying a lot, Tristan. Major pain. Lovie was the scapegoat. Sounds like Nick going nowhere. I don't think he was a scapegoat. I just think he's not a good coach that nobody else wanted to hire, and he ended up not coaching someone who's not a very good coach. Scapegoat, I guess. Usually a scapegoat though means that there's like some sort of undeserved blame. I think it was the most logical decision. I don't necessarily look at him as like a scapegoat, but I get what you're saying. Rockets need to fire Silas next. Did y'all see Kevin Porter Jr. dunk at the end of the game today? I feel sorry for Silas having to entertain Raphael Stone's guy there. And there's a little bit more to that. Like, you want to talk about some meddling, like nobody else wants to coach Kevin Porter Jr. to be starting point guard. I actually think James Harden's coming back. Heard that from some pretty plugged in folks. They think it's a real chance. Cal was pissed after the game. You can tell. He told that man, "You're fired. Call the Bears and pick up." Yeah, he was definitely ticked. Dominic says, "Kick the Bears fan out." Nah, the more the merrier, man. Bears fans are coming through. We're big in Chicago right now. They're trolling, and I can't blame them. It was a good day to be a Bears fan. This is the only win that meant something. Lovey, not the game. You and Davis were delusional for the performances. Yeah, how about Davis Mills saying he's proven himself that he can be someone who coach in this league. Arnaldo says, "I think you're right about Aaron Wilson and Gannon." You think? You don't think you think I just pulled that out of nowhere? Cal must have serious faith in Nick considering how much money he cost. Cal, I don't think Cal's worried about spending. Which could be a good thing. Brown Chubby Bear says, "I'm sick of all these reporters race baiting right now, but I saw it coming. It's infuriating." Hey, it's going to happen. It's part of it. Quite honestly, we know what the process has been. We know some things needed to be done. And look, it's if there wants to be some leaning that way, I'm okay with it, because there was leaning, the other way probably for a long time. But, Cal McNair's not racist. David Culley and Lovie Smith are beneficiaries, not victims of the Texans and their lack of stability. Nobody else was going to hire them. It's the same situation in San Francisco, minus all the variables that came with it, where you hire Jim Tomsula, a longtime position coach who's in over his head, just like they did David Culley, and you hire a guy who's damaged goods, who doesn't appear to be capable of coaching at the NFL level, in Chip Kelly. And then you find your Shanahan. It's no different. So I don't mind the leaning and stuff that way. I think even then, if you look at the comments, it's not that bad. And the Texans are going to have to deal with it, because the reality of the situation is the Texans have lost the benefit of the doubt. And nobody's going to give them the benefit of the doubt on these types of things for whatever reason, whether it's headline porn, whether it's some doing of their own, whether it's what people around the league say. The Texans are not going to get the benefit of the doubt, and they don't deserve it. So it's going to happen. The organization's got to keep trying to do things that are best for winning, and they got to prove that they can get the right guy. So that's really all there is to it. So it's going to happen. Don't let it get you too upset, Brown Chubby Bear. I know you've been known to get a little fiery. Got kicked off Texans Reddit, I hear. But don't get upset about it. Shout out to Brown Chubby Bear. I think he's got a subreddit. Put the subreddit down. I'll let the people know. Very few people put as much passion and energy into this team as Brown Chubby Bear. And put your podcast down there too. Because there's not enough daily digital Texans content. I'm the only one who does it. So, which is crazy, isn't it? Daily, I'm the only one. But I enjoy doing it. If Ben Johnson is the hire, then CJ would actually, if the system better, I don't know what you're saying, Dylan, add a TCU receiver and another physical running back to compete for a wildcard spot. They're not far off. Like that. I know that sounds funny. Like, they're not far off from competing in this division. I mean, if you just fix the offense a little bit and you bring in a coach that can maybe steal some games and increase the talent, and the guys get better, like, they're not far off. They just put out the pamphlet for season tickets next year. And they had a bunch of guys lined up, a bunch of the young guys and like the core guys. Just a year ago, that pamphlet wouldn't have been impressive. Like, you would have looked at it and said, "Oh my God, who the hell?" Like, you didn't even know what the jersey shop was going to look like. But you look at that pamphlet and you realize that you're going to have 3 of the top 33 picks. You're going to have some free agents and all that type of stuff. Like, I don't think they're far off from competing, assuming that Nick Caserio can draft the right guys. I don't think they're far off at all. How close? Who knows? Brandon Cook should have no business on the field with Rex Burkhead. How about the fact that Rex Burkhead, the first time all year where he's not heavily involved in the game plan is when they actually need to lose? How about that? That's absolutely ridiculous. Jim says, I'm on TV right now. Yes, I am. I was actually looking over at myself. My girl's on the couch and she's looking. I was there with Ron the Show Hughley and Cody Stutes, Randy McElvoy, Chancellor, Ari on KPRC too. We were talking about this. It was before Lovie got fired. So the wording in those situations, you always got to be on point. But that was where we were. Someone said Lovie, sometimes divorce is a good thing. Yes, it is. That's Lovie's go-to. I would hope they would strongly consider keeping the special teams coach. He did a good job. Yeah, Frank Ross needs to stay. He'll get fired very soon. Bring in Dabo. You ain't serious, man. Come on, Elmar. You ain't serious. When will Pep be fired? Loud One asks, there's got to be more discussion than we know in that organization, and Lovie got fed up. Fed up of what? Lovie wanted to stay. I'm glad you come up on this live, Landry Locker. I can't wait to listen to In the Loop. Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. Frank Ross should get an interview for the head coach too. They might give him an interview. Why not? Just throw old Frank an interview. Frank's a little young though, man. I love that man though. Good dude. All friends of Easterby should have been shown the door. Then Caserio too? Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to have to hit up that press conference tomorrow. What were the odds that 4th and 20 would be completed? Seriously, teams were 0 for 9 on 4th and 20 this season. Man, I don't know. I'm trying to get rid of that. Someone says the headphone cord is killing the OCD. All right, I'll move it down. So here's the deal. These headphone cords, these are Sony Pro Professionals that you use in studio. I need to get like a smaller corded headphone, but they're just like the best headphones, and they're the ones that I use when I'm on air. So I use them here. But yeah, I have OCD too. I'm just kind of covered up. Loud One, could D'Amico not want to come because of his the old lawsuits has nothing to do with Cal McNair. It was about the playing surface. So no, that's nothing to that's nothing that's going to stop. Any truth to the possible Trey Lance rumor to the Texans? Why? Why do you want Trey Lance? I mean, they were calling for Jimmy Garoppolo before Trey Lance even played. They can interview Ben Johnson ASAP, right? The Lions didn't make the playoffs. I believe so. I think so. Luis asked where I purchased the lid. I actually got it from the squad, from the team. So I don't know. It might be in the Texans team shop at the stadium. But I actually got it from the squad. They sent it over to the station. It's a nice hat. I got my, they gave one, and I actually bought Lopez's from him and gave it to my pops. My pops like the lid too. So somewhere in East Texas at the lake, there's some guy fishing wearing one of these cool hats while everybody else is wearing Bass Pro hats with hooks in them. I thought Cooks wasn't going to play again. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have. That would be, if I hear Josh McCown's name come up, you don't want the McCown train. I will literally throw up. I can agree. No black coach should be thinking about this Texans job. 2 years in a row, 2 black coaches gone. That's interesting, Robert. So do you think that if they had hired D'Amico Ryans this year, that D'Amico Ryans would be gone? Or if Ben Johnson had been hired, that he would be gone? I mean, I would hope that, I mean, I'm asking, but I would hope that the gray area would be looked at a little bit. I mean, if you want to, if Ben Johnson or D'Amico Ryans would feel comfortable turning down this gig and think that it's the same thing as it was the last 2 years, then you might not want him as coach. So who knows? You say 1,000 fantasy scenarios on your show. Of course we do. What's your point? What are we supposed to do? Just give one? Not Miss Cleo. We talk about every angle. Yeah, that's good. Good job, Christopher. What's his name? Christopher Buring. There you go. No kidding. Put together as many scenarios as we can. I knew they were going to go for 2. He actually said it early on. People talking about Jonathan Gannon. I don't mind Jonathan Gannon, but I do think that they got to at least answer why now and not last year. Like, what happened in the process to where you came to Lovie Smith when you interviewed Jonathan Gannon? I think that does need to be answered. But I do think if he gets interviewed a second time, I mean, he would be my betting favorite. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Gannon. I don't think he would really be like the home run, exciting. Let's get pumped up about it type of thing. So do we go D or offense with picks? I think you got to go offense with picks. Although I don't know. Texans are a complete dumpster fire on the coaching search front, Bill said. Look, last year was a dumpster fire. The process sucked. But this year, handling it the way they have so far up to this point, firing Lovie on Sunday, I think you have to at least be somewhat okay with the way the process has been up to here. Tenacious T, I don't see anyone trading up with the Bears for a QB. Well, I don't see the Bears really wanting to just desperately trade back. I think Eberflus is most likely going to fall in love with somebody. He's a defensive-minded coach. He's had to trade his 2 best defensive players. Their defense is terrible. I don't see how Matt Eberflus doesn't put in the tape and fall in love with Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. The only thing is, if they want to trade back, they probably just won't trade back that far. But there will absolutely be people wanting to trade up and willing to trade up because someone's going to fall in love with one of these quarterbacks. So I disagree with that. Ricardo on point on the Bears comment. I guess you're referring to Nathan Peterman getting benched. And look, when Matt Eberflus knows he's going to be back next year, it's a lot easier to handle that type of situation for sure. I think it also sucks because this is the Texans last year at the very bottom of the draft board before they go up to the 5-7 win tier. All right, Sean, already adding wins. If you were a free agent, would you come to Houston? If you paid me. I mean, there's going to be a tax. It wouldn't be like my first choice. I mean, it also depends who they hire as coach. Who's the quarterback going to be? But I like the city of Houston. I like the no state income tax. I mean, would you want to go to Jacksonville? They had to pay Christian Kirk. They got to pay the price. But yeah, if they wanted to do that, someone says the national media is killing the Texans. They should. Texans should be killed at every opportunity until they show they're not a joke. Like, people were laughing at them today with the way that this number 1 pick thing went down. They looked silly. It was goofy. So yeah, the Texans should be made fun of. Don't feel like I even feel like sometimes it gets out of control with Astros fans, where Astros fans sometimes they feel like they have to be like the watchdogs and, defend the Astros with the national media. Even with a really good organization like that, it almost feels unnecessary because narratives are going to happen and national media is going to be national media. But with the Texans, don't defend them. You don't have to just blindly defend them. They deserve criticism. Why didn't Caserio fire Lovie before the game? With Caserio back next year, it's another clown show. Don't know. Do not know. D Texan, I hope we don't keep Mills. People are mad at Mills for costing the number 1 pick. Yeah. And not firing Lovie before the game, apparently. Interesting. Don't know how much to read into the statements, but Lovie says he will work along. Okay, so are they going to give Lovie like a little job? Is that what we're getting? Lovie. Let's even see. The latest. They sent out a thank you for Lovie too. The Texans did, which is great. Look at this. Thank you, Coach Smith. Thank you, Lovie. Thank you, Coach, for everything. I agree, though. I was fine with Lovie Smith. Can we get some defensive help in the draft? I'm sure you can. Sean asks, assuming Bryce goes 1, are we sold enough on CJ, or can we try to tank again? No, we're not tanking, man. Let's not do this. I want to get rid of having to root for them to lose for the time being. So let's not worry about this whole tanking thing. I think a lot of people are overreacting overall over us having the second pick. I understand the hype of picking 1, but we're gonna get a good QB no matter what, whether it's, I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that simple at all. And it is a big deal when you have there's a reason that other teams do handle it this way. So yeah, maybe the result can work out, but it's not overreaction. It's incompetence to let that happen, to let Brandon Cooks go on the field to do that. So I don't think it's an overreaction. Someone says, are you in your basement? No, I'm in my office area. No basement, sir. Right by the station. Are you in your basement? Do they have basements in Texas? Jackass. B. Sully says, I actually wouldn't be upset about Gannon coming to town and bringing Reich with him. Would give Reich a good QB to work with for the first time in a long time. And it would give you an experienced head coach that's been there to oversee things. It's time for a change. New name, new jersey, new management. I have more bad memories with this organization than good, rightfully so. The new uniforms are coming. So stuff will be changed. I feel a whole lot better now because Lovie is fired. Should we celebrate him going back to Chicago? Boy, he is a legend out there. Is there a chance Caserio is gone? No. He's speaking tomorrow at 5:30. Fantasy Life, it's truly amazing. This organization has shown absolutely no signs of improvement after 3 seasons. If you keep doing the same things year after year, you'll get the same results. Is that definition of insanity stuff that people say and they present it like it's the first time ever? Rogers says, Texans have literally killed my love for football. Okay. Andre Johnson is head coach. Andre Johnson didn't even want to be an assistant. He said it was too much work. You want him to be a head coach? Or are you trying to set him up for failure? Trying to make him like the Jeff Saturday of here? Dre himself has said he didn't like that workload. He'll be around the organization. So, Caserio is Easterby 2.0. Shots fired. Here's another one. J.J. Watt is VP of football. Why do you think these jobs are so easy to where just any player can just come in and do it? What has J.J. Watt shown you that makes you think he could be a football VP of operations? I love J.J., but come on. So why does the guy that hired 2 coaches nobody wanted keep his job? Because the reason why, I'm just like trying to explain why it's different. The reason why nobody wanted those jobs was not all of his doing. Like Nick Caserio, Deshaun Watson wanted out of town before Caserio got here. The Deshaun Watson sexual allegations happened. You didn't have draft picks in year one in the first 2 rounds because of O'Brien. The cap situation was bad because of Easterby. A lot of people didn't want to come here because of Easterby. So that's why, if you're asking. I'm not like pounding the table for Nick Caserio, but that's why. They have to get the coaching right. There's no doubt about that. I hate this team. The last 3 years, BOB, Easterby effed it up. Yeah, it's not very fun. Loud One asks, are they re-signing Tunsil? Yeah, no doubt. They'll re-sign him. How much leash do you believe Caserio has? The next coach has got to work out. The next coach has at least got to have them competing for the playoffs and all that type of stuff. Roger says the McNairs are bad owners, decision makers. Hasn't been great. OY asks if I'm going to the press conference. Yeah, I'm going to go. For sure. Bring Andre Lamont Johnson back into this order. He's already there, man. He's been there a lot, man. Andre was at training camp this year more than he has been since he was a coach. He and the McNairs have been hanging out a lot. They're at Rockets games and stuff like that. Andre's back, man. Like Andre's in the building. So he was gone for a while because of Easterby, but he's back. There's no doubt. He's absolutely back. MPs, you sound like an idiot. Just because you hired them to be scapegoats doesn't mean you're not racist. Dude, you're dumb. That doesn't mean you are either. Like, you're just literally making stuff up. Like, that's just the type of stuff that's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't mean they are either. So yeah, let's get you out of here, bud. El Mario says we should have to hire Andy Reid when he left Philly. I don't know. That seems like a lot of hindsight and revisionist history. Yeah, Alfred, Texans need to draft a QB and wide receiver with number 2 and 12. Why not? Well, now we're going to Jeff Luhnow. They need to hire Jeff Luhnow. Sure, why not? Let's just bring in Jeff Luhnow. Let's get it going. Jeff Luhnow. Let's go. Andre, JJ, Jeff Luhnow. Hopefully we don't have to see cover 2 again. We need Stingley to be playing more man. That is correct. So are we going to draft a QB? Who knows? Brown Chubby Bear, the Texans fan battle podcast. This is podcast. So get out there. He gets pretty fiery. Be careful in the comments. He'll cuss. He'll get very, very angry. Brian Flores for DC. Yeah, good on that. Matt says, I'll take Gary Kubiak at this time. Man, we're just trying to bring back everybody. Trying to draft everybody. We're trying to do it. Ian Rappaport saying D'Amico is a favorite. I trust Rapp over Aaron Wilson. Yeah, I probably would too. Aaron's going to kill me for that. But yeah, I think that would probably be a safe bet. So yeah. Yeah, here he goes. Ian Rappaport says D'Amico Ryans. So yeah, I'll like I said, y'all saw me like the whole like D'Amico Ryans isn't interested. I didn't quite buy that, but yeah, Rapp did say that. So that's what that is. Now my heart stopped burning. We hear this Lovie Smith is getting fired. I'm happy Landry Locker came on here. I am too. Bears will definitely be looking to trade with Indy. Yeah, Eberflus has the connection there. So that is something to look out. And Eberflus and Ballard have a good relationship because Ballard actually hired Eberflus to be on Josh McDaniel's staff. So yeah. But overall, it's a good decision. It's a I don't want to say it's a good thing because it's really just kind of a common sense thing. at this point that you had to fire Lovie, but it's good that they're using common sense. And it sucks that that's what's good around here. Not that they made a great decision, but it's good that they're using common sense. I guess you got to aim low in this situation. The theories over, Nick didn't get to pick the coaches. I don't care because I really don't have an issue with the two hires. I think in this situation, I didn't have like an issue with the two hires. So, especially with the situation they're in, were they long-term answers? No. But that was the situation that it was laid out that they had. So I didn't really have a massive issue with that. The Eagles led the league in sacks. How would Gannon defense look like if we don't have monsters like Hassan Reddick? It probably wouldn't look as good. If we're just being blunt. So yeah, they obviously have way better players in Philly. Way better players. But we'll start the search tomorrow, 10 a.m. in the Loop on Sports Radio 610. Don't even think we're going to be able to get to all the comments on this. There's a lot. A hell of a lot. And I'll try to get to all of them at some point, but this has been a pretty wild day. 12 hours of Texans chaos. Hitman's mentioning Dan Quinn. I like Dan Quinn. I just don't know that they like Dan Quinn, and they need to find someone young and innovative. I think that's what the Texans need to do. They need to find someone young. They need to find someone innovative. They need to take advantage of the situation they're in and hire a coach that someone else would like to hire. That would be my goal. And I think Lovie was fine for this year for the situation they were in. But now it gets really interesting. Now the heat is on Caserio. You don't have Jack Easterby creeping around to blame. You have the draft equity. You don't have the Deshaun factor. The multiple factors of Deshaun. You have a very, very alienated fan base that is really pissed off after today. Although this might be a little bit of like a consolation gift. But you got an interesting situation. But there's some intriguing names, and there's not going to be as many teams looking for head coaches. So you got to get this one right. So what does Nick Caserio do? Who does he hire? What's the decision that he makes? What does he have to say tomorrow? What is Nick Caserio going to say? I'm going to go there. It's going to be at 5:30. I'm intrigued to hear what Nick's going to say, what Cal's going to say. But we'll see. I mean, it's been a very, very frustrating process, to say the very least. Systems and processes. Tell me if you've heard that. But this is a decent way to end the day. But it could have been a perfect day had they done what they should have done and had Brandon Cooks inactive and not put themselves in a situation to where the coach that they had on the sidelines wasn't along for the long term, for whatever reason. You'd like to get to a situation where you're actually being able to build something into the next year. And unfortunately for the Texans, because of trusting Bill O'Brien and Jack Easterby too much, they're not in that position. And that's where they need to get. Gotten through 2 years of mud. Better days have to be ahead. Because if this time next year, we're talking about a team drafted in the top 5 and we're talking about this type of stuff, then, you don't have a chance in hell, and you'll be looking for another general manager, and we'll basically just be on this hamster wheel of mediocrity. 10 a.m. tomorrow in the Loop. I'm sure Lopez will have a lot to say. I'll be able to sleep, gather my thoughts. I'll have some stuff to say. We'll talk about the coaching search. We'll hear from Nick Caserio and Cal McNair at 5:30, and we'll give you the latest. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Download the Odyssey app. Appreciate everyone for riding. Have a good night. I know it's been a wild night. Fire up that Odyssey app. Have us on at 10 a.m., and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. This is your source for daily Texans digital content, the only place you can get it no matter what happens. As the most exciting offseason in franchise history approaches, just remember, no matter what they do, no matter how much they piss us off, no matter how good things get, no matter how bad things get, no matter what national media types say, we are all in this together. Have a good one.